So to get started, I would like to introduce you to the Small Business Development Center. We are a grant-funded program with a mission to help businesses start, grow, and prosper. Quick overview, the Small Business Development Center here in Pennsylvania, we do three major things. We provide one-on-one business consulting services at no cost and confidential. We also do training events like today. We do it in a format of virtual, like we are, on demand, as well as some in person. Most of our training events are at no cost, although there are some that are low cost. And finally, as a client of the Small Business Development Center, we're here to provide you with not only one-on-one business consulting services, but also a lot of valuable tools and resources to help you address some of the challenges that you face, find some solutions to those challenges through working with us. We have a lot of databases that we purchase and we access information from them to help you. We have a lot of guides that we've produced and also purchased, as well as a lot of forms and templates. A little bit more, this is just kind of an in-depth look at some of the examples of the work that we do, a lot of market and industry research. We do a lot of different kinds of planning, whether it's business planning, strategic planning, succession planning. We work one-on-one with you in all those areas. We do a lot of financial analysis to help you understand how to become profitable, how to become more profitable, and ultimately help effectively manage your businesses better. And then, of course, marketing, that's how that impacts business in every way. And whether it's online or print or whatever, all your different types of marketing strategies. And like I said, so much more. We do training, and these are just some examples of the trainings that we do. However, I'd like to kind of point you to the website PASBDC.org. By going there, you not only see the workshops and the events that we offer, but you're also going to see the events offered by all the centers in Pennsylvania. Some special mentions, we do offer a first step workshop every month, multiple times, multiple formats. And so we encourage you, if you are looking to start a business, know someone who's going to start a business, that you attend that event. And then we also partner with the Department of Revenue with our tax series. And we have one of those actually coming up tomorrow. And so while this flyer is finishing up this year, we'll have the same format for next year. So I'll be sending that out as well. Just knowing which SBDC covers your territory, take a look at your county and the SBDC. And just a reminder, we're funded through state and federal tax dollars through the SBA, as well as through the Department of Community and Economic Development, as well as an investment, significant investment also by our universities. So we thank all of our funding partners, and we couldn't exist without their support. And so with that, just a picture of our website, how to get in contact with us. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our speakers today, from Northwest Apex Accelerator, Melissa Becker. She's a government contracting specialist. And then following her presentation will be from David Pinkowski, the business opportunity specialist with the U.S. Small Business Administration from the Pittsburgh District Office. And before I turn it over to Melissa, I am going to stop sharing so she can share. I will say that if you have questions for our speakers, you may enter them in the Q&A. If you have questions for me, your host, I would just ask that you put it in the chat box. So with that, Melissa, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. I'm going to get my slide set here. Hopefully you're seeing that.
That looks great.
Okay, yes, thank you, and welcome. Thanks for joining us this morning to learn about veteran-owned small business certifications for government contracting. I am Melissa Becker with the Northwest Commission Apex Accelerator. And we will get going here. Advance my slides. Definitely want to thank all the veterans online with us today. Thank you for your service. We've been invited the last few years by the PennWest-Clarion SBDC to present this session in recognition of National Veterans Small Business Week. So we're glad you're joining us. Hope you can find this worthwhile and informative. And again, always thank our co-sponsors for this presentation: PennWest SBDC, the SBA Western PA District Office, and our fellow Apex Accelerator in North Central PA. With the Northwest Commission Apex Accelerator, where I work, we are part of the programming at the Northwest Pennsylvania Regional Planning and Development Commission. So in addition to the government contracting assistance offered by the Apex Accelerator program, there are other business development programs such as exporting program and the loans program. So if you're interested in those, there's our website. You can reach out to us. You'll have our contact information following this webinar. We'd be happy to share, pass along your information to the appropriate department. And the North Central Apex Accelerator, same thing. They work with the North Central Commission and also offer programs similar to the Northwest Commission offerings here. So a little bit about what the Apex Accelerator program is. We are a nationwide program. So there are Apex Accelerators across the country. We all have our assigned region of the US or US territories that we serve. We're free. The Apex Accelerator Northwest Commission is free. Most are free. If any fees are charged, they're very minimal for the services that you can get from your local Apex Accelerator. So that nationwide program, we're majorly funded by the Department of Defense. So we're taxpayer dollars at work. That's how we are able to be free or very minimal cost service. We offer government contracting assistance, free confidential one-on-one counseling with our clients. With us, to become a client, we have a form we ask you to complete. You submit that. You'll then be put in our database as a client. Anytime you've got questions or needs in government contracting, whether that's federal, state, or local level, we are a resource you can come to for help and guidance. Mainly, we do that through the one-on-one confidential counseling sessions. Again, we talked about we cover federal, state, and local government contracting, help you with becoming procurement ready, getting set up for success in the government market, things like the registrations you may need to have in place, pursuing opportunities, doing market research, finding out who's buying what you're selling, looking at bid packages, solicitation packages, reading through those so you understand what you're bidding on, what your responsibilities and compliance requirements are. All of those things we assist with. We cannot help you. We cannot put a bid together for you. We cannot write a proposal for you. We cannot submit those things on your behalf. I look at my role as I'm here to teach you to fish. So that's what we are. Really, anything government contracting related, you're welcome to reach out to your local Apex Accelerator. And on that list there, you'll see one of the things we help with are those certifications, which is why we're here today. We're talking specifically about the Veteran-Owned Small Business Certification and Service-Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business Certification. There are also programs for Women-Owned, Hub Zone, a program called 8A, all of those things we can be a resource for. We talk about our regions of the country. North Central, Barb Brennan's here online with us. Her area is there covered in orange. Barb, did you want to talk about your program briefly?
Hi, good morning. Sure. So I'm an Apex Accelerator also with, like Melissa. I cover 6-county area, McKean, Potter, Elk, Cameron, Jefferson, and Clearfield. I'm part of subcontracted under Southern Alleghenies Planning and Development Commission. They are in the blue. And also Towanda, the Northern Tier Apex Accelerator is also subcontracted. So we kind of cover a 15-county area in Pennsylvania, as you can see is in the shaded areas. But we also, like Melissa said, we do other certifications, also federal and the state, and we can assist you whenever you want to reach out to us, and like she said, you have to become a client, and that's easily done, signing a paper to do that. And then we, like she said, we put it in your database. We also do help with state. I don't know if I mentioned that or I did briefly, but there's state and local government contracting. So whatever you want to reach out, we can assist you and work with you and help market and see what the government is, which government is purchasing what you're trying to sell. If I missed
Thanks,
anything, yeah, you're welcome. If I missed anything, let me know.
Thanks, Barb. And then here's the territory that the apex that I work for covers: northwest corner of the state, the counties we serve, our contact information, our website. Again, if you're interested in those other programs offered at these different commissions, check out those websites, explore those. Feel free to reach us. And as I said, Apex accelerators are across the US. If you're not in those counties we're talking about specifically today with North Central or Northwestern PA, we're glad you're here with us. You're welcome to reach one of us and we can get you pointed in the direction of the Apex that serves your local area. With that said, I'm going to jump into the main part of our presentation today. We're here, of course, to talk about veteran-owned and service-disabled veteran-owned small business certifications, specifically in how those fit into government contracting. I'm going to briefly, for sake of time, we've just got an hour, so I'm not going to dive really deep into any of these topics, but again, know you're welcome to reach out to us and we can help you with everything. Between the Apex and the SBA, we've got you covered in helping you getting questions answered and need for assistance. So I'm going to talk about the what and the why of the certification program, look at the eligibility requirements, and then I'm going to lead up to the certification process where I'm going to hand it over to Dave Pinkowski. Because one of the things that Cindy said, we're going to talk about the program, but also recent updates. And this is one of the biggest updates that's happened. A new certification portal that the SBA manages called My SBA Certifications. Dave's going to walk us through that and give other, more information on other programs SBA has for veteran business owners. So first off, the certifications for veteran and service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses, the what and the why. The way I sort of broke it down, kind of starting with the why. Why are those certifications? Why are there those certifications? Why would a company, consider wanting to get certified? When we talk about contracting, we talk about government contracting. There's federal, state, local levels of government contracting. They're all different. They have similarities. And on the federal side, the federal government has socioeconomic programs set in place. The federal government wants to do business with small businesses. So to ensure that small businesses get their fair share of that contract work within the federal market, Congress has some statutory goals on percentages of work that each year an agency determines their goals, but the initial goals set by Congress are listed here. Percentages of doing that business with these kinds of companies, these socioeconomic programs. And we're talking, the federal government spends billions and billions of dollars a year. So this is, pieces of that pie. They may, maybe a 3% doesn't sound like much, but when we're talking billions of dollars being spent, that's a pretty big piece. So in order for agencies to meet these goals, contracting officials can use what's called set-asides and even sole source contracts to help their agencies, again, meet those goals. A set-aside, so in order to qualify for one of these programs, such as the Women-Owned Small Business, the Hub Zone program, which is historically underutilized business zone, and then where we have listed and highlighted, because that's what we're talking about today, the Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business, or SDVOSB certification. In order to qualify for a set-aside that you may see that's listed as one of these, under one of these programs, you've got to be certified by the SBA. You may see a small business set-aside. There's not a certification for small business. That's based on your industry codes, thresholds set for each industry code. We'll talk about that in a moment. But otherwise, you may be looking at an opportunity that you see hub zone set aside. So that means they're limiting competition for bidding on that contract. Only a company that would be hub zone certified would be able to bid. Same goes for the woman-owned or economically disadvantaged woman-owned set-aside program. The small disadvantaged business, there's a program known as 8A that you would have to certify for an 8A set-aside. And then in the federal government, outside of the VA, you could see a set-aside for an SDVOSB. And again, I have that highlighted because that's one of the programs we're talking about today, but there's been changes. That 5% used to be 3%, it's now 5% goal for contracting with SDVOSBs with federal agencies outside of the VA. That just changed from 3 to 5% with the, I believe, the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2024. And also, in previous years, you could just self-attest or self-identify as an SDVOSB to qualify and bid on the set-asides. Now you must be certified by the SBA to qualify for a set-aside like that. And as you'll see, I noted asterisks there. Outside of the VA, there's no order of precedence for those set-asides. If a contracting official has determined they want to do a set-aside on a contract or procurement, there's really not an order of precedence there. In the next slide, we'll talk about VA being an exception to that, but also as noted, to qualify for those set-asides, you've got to be certified by the SBA. Now with the VA, they do what's called Vets First contracting. They have the unique authority to kind of put the highest priority to contract with SDVOSBs and VOSBs. And again, to qualify for those set-asides, either category, you've got to be certified through the SBA. And then quickly to note how state contracting fits in with this sort of why there's certifications for veteran-owned businesses. I'm just talking Pennsylvania specifically. Other states may have similar programs, but in Pennsylvania, similar to the federal government set-aside program, Pennsylvania has what they call a small business reserve program. And this has goaling for contracting and subcontracting with what the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania recognizes as small business, small diverse, or veteran business enterprises. And there's a process to be eligible for that program. One state, Pennsylvania state level contracting, you've got to be registered in the supplier portal, and then you have to further verify that you qualify for the state's definition of small business or small diverse business or veteran business enterprise. Now, where the certifications from the SBA come into play here with Commonwealth of PA, if you have SBA's veteran-owned small business certification, you qualify for the state as a VBE for state contracting. If you have the SDVOSB certification for service disabled veteran-owned, you qualify as a VBE and a small diverse business. So again, anything we're talking about here today, I'm going to sound like a broken record. Just touching briefly on these things, we can definitely one-on-one work with you, answer questions, more in depth on what all of this would look like for your company, the steps you would do if you're just interested in state contracting, just interested in federal contracting or whatever. But I just wanted to talk about that as an introduction of why those certifications exist and why a company, may be wanting to pursue that certification. So what is the SDVOSB certification, also known as Vet Cert through the SBA's program? So it's a free certification, again, run by the SBA. It's an electronic application that you apply through the new portal that Dave Pinkowski is going to talk about when I finish up my presentation. Now, in years past, another one of the updates and changes here, previously, this certification for VOSB and SDVOSB for government contracting was done by the VA through their VetBiz portal. And some of you may be familiar with that or not. Well, that no longer exists. It's all now moved over to the SBA because the SBA handled certification for all the other socioeconomic programs, as I listed in those previous slides. So now the program is run by the SBA, free certification. It's a 3-year certification with unlimited opportunities to renew. You'll be listed in the Vet Cert database. Once you're certified, you get a letter of approval and you're in that database. And to become certified, you have to be evaluated and determined eligible against federal regulations. Specifically, I've listed there the actual regulation and Code of Federal Regulations, CFR. And then here's more resources, all those things I talked about, the set-aside program, SBA's vet contracting programs, that CFR regulation on it gets into the eligibility, which we'll talk about briefly here. Qualifications and eligibility. And then here's more information specifically on Pennsylvania's contracting programs as well. And again, remember, Apex is here to help you. Apex accelerators are here to be of assistance, and as well as the SBA. So briefly, those eligibility requirements. So we talked about what the certification is, why it's there. Now, what does it mean to be eligible? Basically, 4 tenets. Of course, it's a small business program, so the company's got to be a small business. There's got to be the ownership by the veterans. And what is a veteran? That we'll look at that. And then ownership and control by the veteran owner. This can be ownership by one or more qualified veteran or service disabled veterans. So to be small business, what does that look like? You have to be a small business under your NAICS code. A NAICS code is North American Industry Classification System codes used by the federal government. When they put out solicitations for opportunities, they assign every opportunity a NAICS code. So when you want to do business with any federal agency, you have to be registered in what's called SAM.gov, System for Award Management. When you do a SAM registration, one of the things you're inputting are your industry codes. You determine your own codes based on your company's capabilities. Nobody tells you what your codes are but you. And every NAICS code is assigned a size standard. That's based on either number of employees or average receipts. If you're under those thresholds, you are small. Like I said earlier, in federal contracting, you don't get certified as small. You simply are or are not based on your NAICS codes. So that's here what we're talking about, that eligibility requirement. You've got to be small. The small business has to be for profit. You cannot be debarred or suspended from federal contracting, and you cannot have outstanding federal financial obligation. So being a small business, first of all, then having that veteran ownership. And that definition of veteran is found in that federal regulation, that CFR regulation. Served on active duty in Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, or Coast Guard, or a reservist or member of National Guard called to federal active duty. Cannot be discharged dishonorably. For the service disabled status, you have to have a disability rating of between 0 and 100. So yes, you can have a 0 rating as long as you have a rating. And the same for the National Guard member or reservist, disabled or injured in the line of duty or during training. So that small business veteran owner has to have, of course, the ownership and control. Majority ownership and control is key. So the company, again, it can be one or more veterans that own the company. Combined have to have at least the majority ownership. Ownership must be direct and unconditional, as well as that control. So when we talk about control of the company, full decision-making authority, that's meaning, long-term day-to-day decisions are made by the veteran owner or owners. Again, that unconditional control and ownership, no restrictions on what the owners can do with their the shares or their voting rights. Highest officer position held by the veteran owner. Highest compensated also. But again, when a company applies, they're all looked at case by case. It's understandable. Most business owners don't really take a salary. They put the money back into their company. So keep that in mind. If you're worried about that highest compensated aspect there. And with veteran or service disabled veteran owners, if that service disabled veteran owner has permanent and severe disability, the spouse or the caregiver can can fulfill the control requirements. And again, links to more resources, NAICS codes. Again, Apex can help you with this. Census Bureau has a nice tool at that website about NAICS codes to help you determine your NAICS codes. There's the size standard table for the thresholds on knowing if you're small or not. That regulation again, and the link for sam.gov. Of course, again, we're always here to help. So we talked about that ownership control requirements, eligibility as a veteran. Now I'm going to jump in quickly to what the certification process looks like. And this is where I'm going to hand it off to Dave to get into more detail with the new portal. Because as we were talking earlier, this is a brand new, just opened in October portal. And I know over the years now since from moving from the VA to the SBA, the application process has become a lot easier. And I think it's even more so now with this new portal. So certification process, what's it look like? Do you meet the eligibility requirements and you want to pursue this certification? First, I talked about system for award management. So there may be some people online with your companies, you may never intend on doing government contracting, but you want to get SBA's certification. You're still going to have to go after this certification as if you were a government contractor. And one of the first steps, any business that wishes to do business with a federal level agency needs to be in sam.gov, System for Award Management. It's a free registration. It can be a little confusing. We get a lot frustrated by it sometimes. I'll tell you, it's the number one thing we help most of our clients with. So I would say, reach out to your local Apex if you're needing assistance with sam.gov. You're going to need to know your NAICS codes. And during the process of registration in SAM, you will have to validate your legal business name, your company's physical address, answer questions about federal acquisition regulation compliance. So it can seem daunting. Well, we're here to help you. Once you complete that registration, you get what's called a unique entity identifier, a SAM UEI, and a CAGE code, commercial and government entity code. So once you have those, then you'll be ready to move on to the step of doing the application with the SBA. So that's completing that vet cert application through the new My SBA certifications portal. So you're going to register with My SBA, prepare, for that application. There's supporting documentation, which Dave's going to talk about more. And this is what that portal looks like. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dave. And again, if there was questions on anything that I just talked about, we're going to try to leave time at the end to answer, but always happy. We're here to talk one-on-one with you to get more in depth in your questions so you can better pursue government contracting and certifications that may apply to you. So I'm going to stop my share, let Dave start his. And it's all you, Dave.
All righty, great. Thank you so much, Melissa. Melissa, you did an excellent job. Good morning, everybody. As Cindy and Melissa and Barb said, my name's Dave Pinkowski. I'm with the U.S. Small Business Administration. I'm a business opportunity specialist, which basically means I'm one of our resident government contracting experts. Now, our office covers, my office, I should say, covers the 27 counties of Western Pennsylvania. We have a small team of 7. So I'm pretty much the only procurement specialist. We have a lender person, a couple other administrative people, and that's pretty much it. So we rely very heavily on our amazing partners throughout our territory to help us deliver SBA programs and services. And you guys have a great team here in Northwestern or Central PA. Cindy and the PennWest-Clarion SBDC is just amazing, as are Melissa, Barb, and Robin from our Apex Accelerator team. So we have tremendous partners here. So I'm very excited to be here today and talk to everyone a little bit about the federal SDVOSB certification and kind of some of the changes and updates. So I'm going to go a little bit more into the actual application. And let me pull that up here and get to the right screen. I have a couple monitors I'm working with, so let me make sure I got the right one. Are you guys able to see that?
Yes.
Yeah, we're actually seeing the all tools. Yeah,
Yep. All right,
there you
cool.
go. Looks good.
All right, good deal. Thank you, guys. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So like Melissa was saying, there's been some major changes to our certification portal. So up until August 1st of this year, we have those 4 socioeconomic programs that Melissa mentioned: HubZone, Veteran, Woman-Owned, and the 8A program, which is our small disadvantaged business program. And we actually had all of those certifications housed on 4 different websites with 4 different application processes and 4 different sets of documentation. And for those of you out there that may have been pursuing multiple certifications, it was a royal pain in the rear end, as you can imagine. We had all this stuff in all these different silos, and it was very, very difficult for our firms that were interested in multiple certifications, because you can't have more than one. It was very difficult for them to navigate to these different websites and have different, logins, different screen names, and to just keep repeatedly gathering the same types of documents and re-uploading them into the same portals multiple times. So finally, SBA has been working on this project for a number of years to actually consolidate the certifications into one unified certification portal, which is now the My SBA certifications that Melissa mentioned and had the website for it, certifications.sba.gov. So now we have a single point of entry system for all the firms out there that want to actually apply for federal SBA certifications. We've got those all streamlined and consolidated, and I can tell you, Melissa's absolutely right. The process now is much, much smoother from the user end. We are the small business experts and people on our team here today. We're the ones out there working with the clients every day. We're not the bureaucrats in downtown DC, so we hear the pain points. We're the ones that are actually helping everyone and people work through these applications. So we took a lot of feedback from different people that were in our certifications or maybe applying. We tested this system over about 6 or 7 months. We were working on it before it went down. Then in August 1st of this year, it went offline for about 6 weeks, just reopened in mid-October. So it's only been up for about two, maybe 3 weeks now. Seems to be working really, really well. Now, there are still some updates and things occurring behind the scenes, so it may go in and out of service for just like an hour or 2 at a time on occasion. But for the most part, the new portal is up, functional, and it seems to be very, very smooth for everybody. So I just want to talk a little bit about the application, just so you know what to expect when you actually work through this thing. It's not that bad compared to a lot of other federal systems. It's much better, sometimes, and I know folks that were in, DOD employees as former military, sometimes things don't go as smoothly as we want in the federal government. I don't have to talk about that type of stuff to this group. You know that all too well. So compared, though, to a lot of our other portals and things that are out there, this is very, very good. So just to kind of talk everybody through a little bit, Melissa showed this already, but we have the My SBA certifications homepage, and we have some different tools on there where you can see if you should apply, some different questionnaires. We have the HubZone calculator now right on the front page, so that you don't have to bounce around to these different websites anymore to figure out if the certifications make sense for you and if it's even something worth pursuing. Certifications, you have to keep in mind that they're not entitlement programs. These are business development programs with a potentially lot of money attached to them through government contracting. So sometimes just because somebody may belong to a certain socioeconomic group, that doesn't mean they need to jump into a certification or that it's a good fit for them. Melissa made a great point earlier about the certifications of how when you register, even if you don't want to get into federal contracting, you still have to go through the process of acting like you do in order to get certified. The only reason these certification programs exist is because we're trying to make sure that people that have been underserved throughout history or didn't have their fair share of federal opportunities are getting those contracts and getting those opportunities. But the big point is we are trying to increase supplier diversity and populate our supply chains at the federal level. So these contracting certification programs only exist because we need people for federal contracting purposes. So if other entities or other levels of government want to use them, that's fantastic. We think that's great, but we don't regulate that. So as Melissa was saying, the Pennsylvania Department of General Services and some of their certifications and what they do, they accept SBA certification, but we don't regulate how they accept it or what they accept. So do keep that in mind. They do exist for federal contracting purposes, but even if you don't want to necessarily get a contract, I'm glad she made that point, you do have to register and still go through the same process. So when you first go to certifications at SBA.gov now, it's very simple. You're going to go, should I apply? That'll be the first thing. It's right on the front page, and we're just going to ask you some very basic questions about ownership. Melissa mentioned already that 51% ownership and control. That's very, very key. It's not just ownership on paper. One of the things we have to be cognizant of is making sure that the person or people that own the business are actually eligible for the certification. We have a lot of bad actors out there that just love to try and take advantage and get involved in contracts that they have no business participating in. So sometimes we have people that'll falsify documents or records, or try to stand up a dummy corporation and take advantage of a cert to which they're not eligible for. So that 51% ownership and control is always important. You'll see that on pretty much anything when it comes to federal contracting these days, especially with our certification programs. But the cert, like I said, is not that bad. So we just have the quick general questionnaire, just kind of go through, are you a citizen? Are you a veteran? Do you sell what the government buys, which is interesting. We want to make sure that, you're in an industry that makes sense for federal contracting, because it is a contracting certification. Now, we buy a lot of stuff at the federal level, so the odds are very good no matter what you do, where you're at in business. The odds are very good. Some agency somewhere buys what you sell. It's very rare that I hit on a client these days, and I've been doing this stuff since probably since about 2003, so around 21 years, that I can't find a match somewhere for an agency for a small business, or for an agency for what they sell. But it does happen, and just because we buy all kinds of different stuff doesn't always mean that we buy it in a lot of volume. So even though we buy things a lot, buy a lot of different things, doesn't mean it's going to make sense for you to pursue them in the federal contracting space. And a great example is home health care. I get a lot of requests from home health care agencies that want to get involved in federal contracting. And those types of procurements actually fall more under social services, Medicare, Medicaid. Those are separate from the types of contracts we deal with at the SBA. Because in the types of contracts we're talking about with those FAR regulations and the CFRs and SAM.gov and things that Melissa mentioned, those are contracts that we are procuring for government employees and government agencies to execute their missions on a daily basis. So you have to think about what your products and services are and who the end user actually is. So in the case of a home healthcare agency, it's going to be the patient. Right? It's going to be, somebody that needs home healthcare services. Well, if I need home healthcare services through the SBA, I'm not going to get that through the SBA, right? It's not a condition of my employment. They're not going to pay for that for me. It's going to be through my health insurance. So again, you may see occasionally, though, a solicitation come out from the VA, where they may offer home health care to veterans in a particular area or region, but those contracts only come out like maybe once every 5 or 6 years. So you have to make sure that this actually makes sense for you and is something you want to do if you want to sell to the federal government or really any governmental entity. But as far as the application, we just have a general readiness assessment. Just go through, is your business generating revenue? Do you have a track record of good supplying quality products and services? Past procurement history is always a big thing for us on any certification. So that's going to be very, very key. Going to make sure your business is in the U.S. Do you have a principal office located in a hub zone? Do 35% of your employees reside in a hub zone? Now, if you're applying for the vet cert, you might think, why do I need to answer questions on hub zone? And the reason is what I said earlier. Like I said, we consolidated everything into one single application. So not every question is going to necessarily apply to what you want to do, but you still have to work through the questionnaire. All told, though, once you see some of these screens, most people are knocking this out very quickly. It shouldn't take you probably any more than maybe 20 minutes to a half an hour. So it's a lot better than it used to be, because people would sometimes have hours spent on the old application. So this one's very quick, very simple, easy to read. So I'm not going to spend a whole ton of time on this, but I do, again, want to just kind of click through some of these screens just so you can see what we're looking at. So we're going to ask you just some general financial things. Are you under financial limits for things like affiliation rules or different contracting programs? We can get in more to those later. Your Apex Accelerator team can help you with understand some of those questions if you have those types of things. Do you know financial and balance sheets? Do you understand your balance sheets and income statements? Do you have those things? A lot of our clients, sometimes they're very small, especially if they're newer. They don't necessarily have those. But unfortunately, that's why we have our phenomenal partners like Cindy and the Small Business Development Centers to help you with that type of stuff. But it's really just a matter of working through the questionnaire and then preparing for the application. So once you go through that, we're going to skip the invitation code here because that doesn't make a lot of sense for this presentation right now. The first thing you're going to do, though, once you get into there, is you're going to claim your business. And the way you do that is you actually claim your business from sam.gov. So as Melissa said, registering in SAM is the #1 priority for anybody that's not already in there. SAM.gov, System for Award Management, is the federal vendor database. So it doesn't matter if you're a small business, a large business, whatever. If you want access to any sort of federal money, whether it's from a federal contract, maybe a grant program if there's anything available. In certain cases, some sorts of different loan programs or other financial assistance programs, you have to be registered in sam.gov. So that's always step 1 for us. Once you get into the certification portal and you come to claim your business, you're going to populate your UEI, your cage code, your bank number, your taxpayer ID number. And then this certification portal is actually going to pull your information from SAM itself. So you have to make sure when you do that, that information that populates from SAM matches the information that you're intending to put in for your certification in the MySBA certification system. One of the big holdups or biggest things so far that causes problems for people is they don't have their information. It's not cohesive and it does not match. So the example we have here today, like if you see Uncle Buck's Organic Coffee, Uncle Buck's Flower Shop, and those are both DBA Buck Enterprises. Okay, but they're totally different numbers, different owners, and all that stuff. So you want to make sure if there's any changes or you've had any updates to your business, you want to make sure that information matches. If you get to this screen and you see, hey, there's pulling information that doesn't match with what I'm actually doing or what my company actually is, you have to go back to sam.gov, make those updates in SAM first, get everything corrected in there before you proceed with the certification. So it's not too hard to go into SAM. Once you're in there the first time, you only have to go in once a year just to re-register and keep your profile in SAM active. And just as long as you keep your information up to date, you will not have any problems. But what happens is people go in there, they use different names, or they decide to do a DBA, and they never go back and change their SAM record. And then whenever they try to pull their information to claim their business for the certifications, things get all mixed up, and it can be a royal mess to actually unwrap it and figure out what's what. So the clean and easy thing to do, make sure you're satisfied with your SAM record and everything is in order before you actually start the certification. Once you go through that, you claim your business, easy enough. And then from there, we'll have the different programs available all in the one portal now again, where you can very easily go and click which ones you're planning to apply to. Now, as you work through this, you're going to answer questions that will say, the system will tell you, okay, well, you may not actually be, eligible for this certification right at this moment. So say, for example, you clicked all 6 of these and you find out later that you're not in a hub zone once you go through the questionnaire, or, you're not actually a woman-owned business and you clicked it by mistake, you're a male-owned company, the system will get to a point where it will tell you that you're only eligible for, say, maybe 8A and the veteran certification, or just the service disabled vet. It'll specify what you can actually apply for, which is great. So we've taken the guesswork out of it, and you don't no longer have to figure out, okay, am I eligible for this? What's this rule? What's this regulation? What on earth is this CFR? Why do I have to look this up? You don't have to keep running to us at the SBA, going back and forth with your Apex counselor. Not that we don't want to talk to you. We love working with our small business clients, but it eliminates a lot of the headache and takes a lot of the guesswork out of it for you. So that's something that's really, really nice with the new portal, is it does that so you don't have to worry about it. So as you're working through the app, you can do things like assign a delegate if you want somebody else to actually do the application for you or work with you on it. We do typically anticipate that the owner is going to be the one submitting it. Again, you are going to be the person who's on the hook for the information. This is your business, your company. We want to make sure you are involved. Again, it's ownership and control, but you do have the option to invite somebody to assist you with compiling your documentation and everything. So I just wanted to kind of mention that and show you that screen. Not too difficult. You would just kind of put their information in there. They would get an invite with that claim code and everything to pull them in. And from there, then we start with the owner information. So everybody on this call today is going to be obviously an individual. The one program, actually say 2 programs, the Hub Zone programs and also the 8A program do allow for organizational applicants. meaning those entities can be organizational owned to actually get into those certifications. But the other ones are individuals. We typically don't allow that. The 8A is due to the Native American regulations that pertain to the 8A program. There are some special allowances for that. So Native American corporations can actually be entity owned and get into the 8A program. And also with the hub zone, there's some ability for nonprofits to actually be eligible for hub zone certification. But if you're looking at the vet cert or the women owned program, it's always going to be an individual, and you just work through the screens, you know, last name, ownership, social number, email, phone number, all that fun stuff. Nothing too crazy or difficult. Very, very simple for people to work through. Here we get into a little bit of control and operations, your management and structure. The only thing we ask for here that I do like to point out to people is, are you a license holder? So that comes up typically, for example, if you're maybe an asbestos removal company, well, obviously you need a special license for that. So if you're, doing asbestos removal and that's your primary NAICS code, you just want to make sure you let us know you have the applicable license to your industry. So we're just going to ask you for things like that: first name, last name, again, title, position of the management team. Most of our clients are small, so very, very small. So, it's typically not an issue for people. If you do have other management individuals or owners, there will be the opportunity to pull them in. They may have to fill out different parts of the app. But here's just a brief description of the eligibility program. So for example, in this application, we're just going to pretend that this person's eligible for all 6, for all these certifications. And do keep in mind, I do want to mention that the economically disadvantaged woman-owned program is a, kind of a subpart of the woman-owned program. And same with the service-disabled veteran-owned program is under the veteran-owned program. So kind of what I mean by that is what Melissa was saying earlier about those set-asides and sole sources. Keep in mind that all economically disadvantaged women-owned small businesses are women-owned small businesses as well, but not all women will be economically disadvantaged. Same with the veterans. All service-disabled vets are veteran-owned, but not all veteran-owned are going to be service-disabled. So do keep that in mind. And again, you can get that service disability letter from the VA. And as Melissa said, anything between 0 and 100. Sometimes people are kind of shocked when they find out that the SBA accepts a 0% disability rating, and 0 is a number. Okay, it's there. So yeah, we're totally fine with that. If the VA agrees that you have a potential issue, but it's not something that's severely impacting you in day-to-day life, that's not a problem for us. You can get that service disabled rating and get, as long as you get that letter from the VA. So from there, just some more questionnaires. Again, these are all very easy and simple to work through. You're applying for the 8A program. This is just the one for the 8A specific. Now, these slides I got from headquarters, so these are the ones I was mandated to use. I actually don't have my local access to the system yet. We're still waiting on that, so they didn't even give it to some of our field office staff. But just to give you a general idea, this will be very similar for the vet cert as well. This one, just some individual specific questions pertaining to the individual program that you're actually looking at. So 50% or more of your company's assets from a former participant, do you hire consultants, that sort of thing. Well, again, we just want to know who else is influencing your company, or who else may have control or access. Core program eligibility, are you working with a third party to get certified? That does not include our nonprofit partners, so you don't have to worry about, if you're working actively with your SBDC or your Apex Accelerator. That's not what we're talking about here at all. In some cases, we do have clients that go out and like to hire a for-profit firm to do some of this stuff for them. Now, I can tell you we are not big fans of that. There's a number of tremendous resources and partners that will work you through these things. There's absolutely no reason for anybody here on this call today to go out and have to pay for anything and open up your books and your personal information and all that stuff to a third party. But we occasionally do have clients that like to go that route. So I just want to mention those things. We will ask you about that. Things about your legal structure. Has your business had a name change, franchise agreements, just different things along those lines. So it's really not that bad. As you're working through this, like I said, they're just yes and no questions, maybe require you to type in a couple little things here and there. Most people are just zipping right through this very, very simply and easily with minimal fuss, which is fantastic, because the old way, it would be a little intense sometimes, and people would sometimes end up in different different areas and different little patches that were just really, really tough to work through. But so far, so good on this. The system is working as intended, and they are making continued improvements. So you'll find this screen where you have individual contributor ownership. This is where we'll ask you for some of those other people that may have control of your business or other owners, their relationship. In some cases, one of the things that does come up is we will ask for spouse information, even if that spouse does not have anything to do with your company. The reason being is, Melissa mentioned some of those monetary thresholds and things, especially as it pertains to economic disadvantage for things like the 8A program or Hub Zone, stuff like that. And we do have to make sure you're under specific dollar thresholds to maintain program eligibility. And sometimes we have people that hide property or retirement accounts under their spouse's name and thinking we're not going to look at it, but we do. So do keep that in mind. It's something that is required. So they may have to actually get on there and upload some documentation on occasion. And speaking of which, the documentation is what I want to get into next. This is just some questions about family, 8A, character, stuff like that. You really won't see these on the veteran portion once you get to that, but you can definitely work through them if 8A is something you may want to apply for or think you may be eligible if the system, tells you you are. But these are just some 8A specific questions about the economic disadvantage and things like that. So I'm going to kind of just go through these a little quick here. And then we will go ahead, and this one's asking just about Hub Zone. You'll probably see that on every app, including the vet. Want to get to the document center here. Now, this is where we'll have the documents listed. Hopefully everybody can see that. Try to make it a little bigger for you. It's kind of irritated actually when headquarters did not give me the PowerPoint, but the PDF. But this is where you'll actually compile and have to upload your documents. Now, what we always recommend is for clients to go ahead and find the checklist first. We have the checklist right on the website, so you don't have to click through to get to the screen until you find it. But this is where you'll actually go to be able to see, what we actually need you to submit for your application. So it's just, again, a lot of really basic, should be easy stuff. Things like your operating agreement, if you have one, minutes from any board meetings or things, wages and tax statements, W-2s for the past 3 years, all your schedules and attachment for your business for the past 3 years, just the normal type of things. We did eliminate some of the documents to make it more streamlined, so it's not as cumbersome as before. That does not necessarily mean, though, that somebody on the review team, if they have a question, may not come back to you and ask for additional clarification. Again, we have billions of dollars attached to these programs. In the case of the veteran certification, about $32 billion a year is what that 5% equates to that Melissa mentioned earlier. So we have to make sure that we're going to do our due diligence and to maintain that program integrity to make sure that veterans are actually getting the money that they deserve. This is something that you've potentially sacrificed a lot, we're willing to sacrifice your life for the federal government. So we want to make sure that only veterans have access to those set-asides and sole source. So we will do a deep dive on some of this info and everything. Just for that reason, but it's not as cumbersome. But don't be offended if somebody from the review team comes back and just says, hey, I have a quick question about this document. They may just come back and something like that. Or if you miss something, if something you didn't upload or it's not clear to them, they may come back for a little more clarification. Don't be offended by that. I have people sometimes that get really upset about, oh, this person's being mean to me. They're treating me unfairly. They're, questioning my integrity, my honor. Nobody's doing that at all. We just need to be able to connect the dots to make sure that you are the person that you claim to be and that you actually own and control that company. So that's really all we're looking for there. So again, don't be too upset if somebody comes back and asks you for a little more, but typically it hasn't happened, and the questions that have come back have been very quick and easy. Just, maybe just a brief oversight somebody missed or something along those lines. So from here, another contributor invitation, if you have anybody else that you need to actually have submit any of the documents. And then the final thing you'll have is this attestation, just where you're agreeing that you are who you say you are, you've submitted the documents and records to the best of your knowledge, and you click submit, and that's pretty much it. So this is a new page that we have now too. One of the things that used to be very difficult is once you submitted an application to us under the old way, there was no way to track it. So we did not have, SBA did not have a tracking mechanism in any of the certification portals. So if your certification was for some reason delayed and it was going to take 3 or 4 months, you had no way of knowing that. So we would have people waiting months and months trying to get updates. And it was very difficult. In a lot of cases, we couldn't even get updates at the district office for people. So what we actually build in now to the certification portal is once you send it in, depending on the volume of applications that the review team has, it'll give you an estimate of how many days are left until your certification will be looked at. And then this is actually going to be expanded and a little more robust eventually, where it's actually going to give you different timelines and updates. That feature doesn't look like it's fully implemented yet, from what I understand, but it should be on the way. But we're going to have that countdown clock. I can tell you the vet certification has always been the smoothest one we've had by far. The 8A program could take, or the woman-owned program could take like 5-6 months in some cases. Hub Zone would take about 3 months or so. We were actually turning around the veteran certification in about 30 days. So the vet cert has always been a very quick and streamlined application for our veterans. And it's obviously because as former military, you've already been heavily vetted for a lot of this stuff. So we have a pretty good idea of who you are when you're applying and everything. So we still need some of the changes, but they're really streamlined and we can get these turned around pretty quickly. And the biggest reason that the applications don't go smoothly is people simply don't give us the correct documents the first time. If you submit everything properly the first time by working with us at the SBA, working with your SBDC, your Apex, working all those groups and those resource partners who are phenomenal, and they are more than happy to hold your hand through these processes. If you do that and make sure you have a good quality app the first time through, you're going to fly right through and probably have almost zero issues as you get your certification. And that is pretty much it for that part. The last thing we do have here is there is a messaging feature built into the portal. So you can even go in here and actually access the review team people that are looking at your application, which is something else is really, really cool. Before, you used to have to come to the district office and kind of work through us. We couldn't always even see where your application was, like I just mentioned. Now you're going to be able to access the help desk and actually have the people that are looking at your application in headquarters, because that's where all the reviews are done for these. We actually don't do them locally. The people that are actually looking at your application, you're going to have access to them. They can now correspond with you directly through this messaging center. So that's the last thing I wanted to mention there. So the certifications, not too difficult at all. And just want to mention a couple of quick other vet programs that we had, and then we'll be happy to take any questions. I see we're right at about time, so I promise this will be very brief. I just want to make everybody aware that SBA has very robust veterans business development programs. We actually have a whole division within SBA called the Office of Veterans Business Development. And we do a lot of counseling and training through our Veterans Business Outreach Centers, our Women Veteran Entrepreneurship Training, Military Spouse and Pathways, and there's other things you see there, to help people navigate business, to help you be successful, to help you grow, expand, recover, prosper, as Cindy said. We have phenomenal local partners. We really do. But then we have some national level programs that you can also take advantage of, and that's where these come in. So we have these different programs located throughout the nation. We have 68 district offices. Each office has a Veterans Business Development Liaison. For my office, our veteran liaison is Jonathan Bennett. I can give you John's contact info. He's a great guy, former Army himself. I believe John spent about 20 years in active duty in the reserves, retired as a sergeant, I believe, and he's just a phenomenal guy. He's an expert on all these programs. So if you want to take advantage of any of these national level business development programs, please don't hesitate to reach out to our office and him. I do have the contact information at the end. But these are just some slides on what these different assistance centers can do for you. So I'm not gonna, go down through and read each and every one of these. I am gonna send the slides out to Cindy. She will make these available to all the registrants. But we have different things like our Boots to Business programs, some different information on that. The Military Spouse Pathway to Business. This is a very excellent program for military spouses that a lot of people don't even realize we have available. So if you're a military spouse with an idea for a business, or your spouse wants to start a business, we can get you connected with that. All these training programs are offered free or very low cost. We have service disabled veteran entrepreneurship training, the Veteran Federal Procurement Entrepreneur Training Program. This one's a little unique in that we'll actually pay for the lodging, your travel to some of these things. So there's no cost to you whatsoever. We'll give you a per diem in some cases. And these types of trainings from the Veteran Institute for Procurement, or VIP, these are to help you get into things a little quicker. So for example, if you want to do government contracting, specifically with the aerospace industry, we have a very intense 3-day residency program to help you onboard and very quickly get in with like NASA and things like that. So we do have some amazing programs. Just wanted to mention those. The last one I wanted to mention was the Veterans, the Federal Surplus Property Program. Veterans are one of our designated groups that is eligible to receive surplus property. Obviously, with the government, we have a lot of equipment and things. Sometimes that stuff comes to the end of the usefulness for us, but it may not be at the end of its use, that product or whatever it is. In some cases, we buy things brand new, and occasionally they're never even used. So what do we do with that? Well, we auction that property off in a lot of cases. In some cases, though, with veterans, we can actually do through a donation program, we can actually hook you up with this equipment without you having to pay for it, as long as you're using it for your business in its day-to-day operation. This isn't a program where we can just give people, products and things where they can turn around and resell them or anything like that. There's a lot of rules to it because it is a donation-based program. But again, we can get you access to some really interesting and cool equipment that may help your business for either no cost or in some cases very little cost. And it's good, solid equipment that still has usefulness attached to it. So it's not like we're just selling off all our junk and trying to unload it onto people. And I cannot say enough again about our amazing resource partners, small business development centers, women's business centers, SCORE chapters, and our VBOX. We have a tremendous team in Western Pennsylvania. Cindy and PennWest just do great, great work. I can't say enough great things about our Apex accelerators. This is how you can contact all of them. Their websites are very easy to navigate, where you can go on and request counseling. And then if you want to stay connected with our office, feel free to follow us on X at SBA_Pittsburgh. Send all inquiries, if you don't mind, to WPAinfo@SBA.gov, and we do have a LinkedIn page as well. And if you have certification questions, I'm happy to answer whatever I can for you. But headquarters has stood up a brand new help desk specifically for the My SBA certification portal. So as I said, I don't have direct system access yet. I'm not sure when it's coming. But in the meantime, we have the certifications at SBA.gov or this 800 number where you can very easily call and get assistance with your certification questions. So with that, I am all done. And if anybody has any questions, I know it was a lot of information. I went a little fast, but I wanted to be cognizant of everybody's time here and make sure we didn't go too far over. So if anybody has a question or two, we are more than happy to answer those.
Wow, that's a lot. Thanks, David. Thanks, Melissa and Barb. We really appreciate you all being here, and this information has been incredibly valuable. And yes, I'm willing to stick around just a little bit longer if you have some questions. If you would like to be unmuted, I can do that. Sometimes it's easier to ask a question that way. While, we kind of get set up if needed for that, I just wanted to mention that I will be sending out a survey following today's webinar, just getting your feedback on the information, so that we can, again, continue to make our trainings for you better. And then in addition, again, another reminder that I will be sending out all the slides that you saw today in an email, as well as the recording. And that will be probably later today or tomorrow until that is ready to be sent out. So David and Melissa, it looks like you're off the hook.
Okay,
I don't
great.
see anybody who has a specific question, but all of your contact information as well as my information will be included in all of the information, the follow-up information. So if you do have questions, run into situations that you need help with, we are a team of resource partners here to help that process happen more smoothly for you. So with that, thank you everyone for being here, and we look forward to partnering with you all again in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks so much,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Nice job, everyone. Thank you.